Concerned high-level officials in the UK have been holding meetings on mysterious drones over military bases in England, and residents in states all across the US have been spotting strange lights in the sky for the past few months. But the government isn't giving us any answers. Do they know more than they're letting on? These are mysterious lights in the sky that the government refuses to explain. A couple weeks back, UK government officials held two top-secret meetings to discuss mysterious drone activity over American air bases in England. The sightings of these drones had raised alarms because the technology used was so advanced, authorities couldn't track them or figure out who was behind them. Apparently, though, the drones were being controlled in real time by live operators, not pre-programmed. The meetings, held by the Civil Contingencies Committee, were focused on how to respond to the potential threat. The committee is full of high-level officials whose job it is to coordinate government responses in times of national crisis. So the fact that these meetings are being held over mysterious drones is pretty nuts. It's not the sort of meeting they hold lightly. US military officials haven't ruled out the possibility that a foreign state might be involved, but they're struggling to find out who's controlling the drones exactly. An American politician, Vito Fossella, voiced his frustration over the lack of transparency from the US government, pointing out that even President Biden couldn't get any answers. Fossella emphasized the issue of public safety, saying each time our concerns are raised, we are told there is no public safety risk, even as our closest ally in Europe assesses the possibility that these drones may be operating by a foreign adversary. End quote. Last month, commercial pilots in Oregon reported seeing some strange lights zooming through the sky. One of them, Joe Bewley, a life flight pilot, said it was nothing like he'd ever seen before. The biggest thing that stood out was that it was changing direction. Usually things don't change directions unless it's an aircraft, said Bewley. He wasn't the only one who saw these lights either. At least 4 other pilots reported similar strange movements. Bewley and 2 medics on board his flight saw bright orange lights streaking across the night sky during a flight from Aurora to North Bend. According to Bewley, the lights had a quote red circular shape and moved in a bizarre pattern, zipping out towards the ocean, then coming back about 20 miles or closer, then zipping back out to the ocean. Air traffic control also confirmed that there was no military activity in the area at the time, and the FAA acknowledged the lights but didn't offer any explanation. Bewley mentioned that one of the lights was moving in a quote corkscrew pattern, and it even showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system, but air traffic control said they couldn't see it on the radar. Some experts, like scientist Dr. Douglas Buettner, speculated the lights could be reflections from Starlink satellites launched by SpaceX, but Bewley wasn't convinced of that, saying satellites don't move like that. Going on to say, quote, they don't change directions. Even if they do, not rapidly, not at this rate of speed. Just last Christmas Eve, residents in Fresno, California spotted some strange lights in the sky. From the area near Cedar and Belmont Avenues, they spotted at least 8 or 9 lights moving southward. People managed to snap a few photos of the odd lights, but it's still unclear whether these lights were from drones, satellites, or something else entirely. This is just another in a long list of reports of mysterious orbs, drones, UAPs, and lights in the sky recently. Seems to be happening all over the place. What do you all think of these ones though? They're kind of pretty, to be honest, especially being that it was Christmas Eve. A family in Cornwall back in June spotted a series of mysterious lights in the sky, which they believe could have been a UFO. Charlotte Hellier, who saw the lights near her family home in Torpoint, described the experience as, quote, really strange. At first, Charlotte thought the lights might have been drones, but as they moved further away, she started to doubt that, saying they, quote, floated left and right before seeming to reduce into just 2 balls of white light that floated away miles into the distance. The family couldn't make sense of it. The lights seemed too bright to be drones, first of all, and the way they floated off into the distance means any drone controller would have been out of reach. What also stood out was that the lights were completely silent. But that wasn't the only strange sighting in Cornwall. UFO reports from the area have been on the rise recently. A dog walker who was out just past 7 p.m. on December 9th noticed a light hovering for about 10 minutes before it slowly moved south. A few days later, on December 15th, photographer Chris Piper was photographing a lunar halo, a bright ring around the moon, when he noticed something odd. I was photographing the lunar halo, and it wasn't until I showed the pictures to my friend that he noticed the blue dot hovering around the moon. When I looked back at the motion pictures, it appeared to be moving, Piper said. On December 9th, there was a UFO sighting in Newquay. Monique Lyle was out on her balcony stargazing when she spotted something in the sky. She had no idea what it was though, saying, "I often stargaze, so I'm familiar with the night sky, and I knew immediately that this wasn't a star or any usual phenomenon like an aircraft. It was bright, changing colors, and seemed unusually close to town." On a Thursday morning in Surrey, BC this past December, people woke up to a strange sight in the sky. A woman named Melissa Knight posted on Facebook asking, "What is happening in the skies over in Cloverdale this morning?" She shared photos of these colorful streaks cutting through the sky, and these ones are pretty amazing. All multicolored, it kind of looks like a team of superheroes descending from the sky. Some people wondered if the lights were from light pollution caused by nearby cannabis greenhouses, something that's been happening more in Metro Vancouver lately, apparently. But the most popular theory was that the lights were caused by light pillars. That's an optical phenomenon where light gets bent by ice crystals in the air, and according to AccuWeather, the colors come from the light source itself. One commenter said, "That's a thing that happens in other places, but I've never heard of it here." There's still been no official explanation as to what these lights are, though, and considering how many mysterious things people have been seeing in the sky recently, it definitely makes this story all the more strange. Out of all these strange reports of unexplained lights in the sky these past few months though, New Jersey seems to be the hotspot. Since November, there's been all this talk about strange drones flying over the state, and things really started to heat up after a briefing with the Department of Homeland Security on December 11th. New Jersey Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia said these drones are pretty hard to track, that they seem to avoid detection by usual methods like helicopters or radio, saying they're, quote, up to 6 feet across and they fly with their lights off, operating in a coordinated manner. We don't know who's controlling them. While the Pentagon, the White House, and the Department of Homeland Security all say they aren't posing any threat, they also aren't coming out and telling anyone what these things are, even saying that they don't know what they are. It really seems like there's something more going on. US aviation authorities have stepped in too, putting a temporary ban on drone use in nearly 24 New Jersey cities until mid-January. But apparently, there's nothing to worry about. It's all very confusing, and people are still being left with no solid answers. This past November, photo and video showing 4 strange lights hovering above the Statue of Freedom in the US Capitol Dome went viral. Dennis Diggins, a US Air Force vet and tour guide, took the photo, and it quickly spread on social media, getting people talking about whether these lights were UFOs. The timing of the sighting was interesting too. It came just weeks after a big US Congress hearing about UFOs. The photo shows bright lights hanging in the night sky above the Capitol, but it wasn't just the photo that got people's attention. A video from a different angle was released, showing the lights seemingly appearing out of nowhere. A few weeks earlier, again, the US Senate and House Representatives held a hearing called Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Exposing the Truth. In the hearing, former military personnel and government officials testified about secret programs designed to cover up evidence of UFOs and possible extraterrestrial tech. One of the witnesses was a retired US Navy admiral who talked about strange aerial encounters, and another was a counterintelligence officer who said the government had hidden UFO information for years. So with all this going on in Washington, people couldn't help but wonder if the lights over Capitol Hill were connected to what was being discussed. Was this a UFO, or was it just another strange phenomenon? People in Indiana recently caught some strange lights in the sky too, and the videos were getting shared all over social media back in late October. Footage shows several glowing orbs lighting up the night sky, some even appearing to form a curved line like they're sitting on the edge of a disc. The lights didn't show up all at once, they lit up one after another, which left a lot of people puzzled about what they could be. Some people, of course, commented about alien ships. Others, though, pointed out that the lights might just be military flares, especially since Indiana is home to a US Air Force base. But again, considering all the weirdness going on up in the sky lately, I don't know. Again, in December of 2024, people in Lincoln, Alabama started spotting strange lights and what looked like drones hovering in the night sky. Casey Oliver, who lives in the Rushing Springs area, said he saw up to 20 bright lights near her farm. At first they looked like stars, but then they started moving, flashing red and green, and sometimes flying really low. This has been going on for a week now. Last Tuesday, one got so low near the interstate in Oxford, Alabama, it seemed like it might crash into us. It hovered right above our car before moving on. It was terrifying, she said. Lincoln is near federal training bases, which could explain the drones, but they still didn't have any answers. Well, all that is mostly from just December, so who knows what this month is gonna bring. I'll be talking about it if we see anything, and if you see anything, let us know in the comments. I've been your host, James, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.